elementary school, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so your question is actually regarding technology in our schools. I know that you have a child who is dealing with the new Chromebooks that were dropped on the kids.
Yes.
Okay, so we've had a lot of parents voicing concerns about how much time their children are spending on them. Because one of us knows a lot about technology, that one of us is wondering if there's some kind of tracking program that maybe we can use, some way to find out how much time our kids are actually spending on these Chromebooks and what the benefit of that education is. If there is such a program, how do you feel about using it?
Well, first of all, I'd like to say that I do have a high school, a freshman in high school, and she's always on her Chromebook. She's doing her homework. I have looked at comments on Facebook, and I know a lot of people aren't as happy as I am with it. But I do think that technology is the wave of the future. There is no job out there where you cannot use technology. As far as tracking the amount of time spent on that, I don't know if there's a way you can actually track it offhand, but you know there is some concerns, you know, eye strain and health issues. People on Chromebooks, you know, like my daughter had her feet up in the air looking at her Chromebook, but so I do think there might be some issues with that. Again, I really like the technology. I help my daughter with her homework, and the tools and resources we have are incredible. It's not like the old days where you just sit in a classroom for 40 minutes and listen to the teacher talk. This is hands-on stuff, and it really makes a difference when you're trying to explain something to a totally different and abstract concept. When you can see a model of it in a computer, it's really quite impressive.
Thank you for your response. Ready, Colin?
Sure.
Okay, so you have a lot of experience helping out the school foundation, so you've been around our school sites. You also have some insight into the high school, right? Okay, so your question is regarding inequities within the schools. I know you've had a lot of experience working with foundations, you know what they're working towards, you know that certain schools have certain programs, however they got there. So as a school board member, how do you think you can best address the inequities and hopefully make all of the K through 8 schools we have fair?
That's a really good question. I think that the equity is not necessarily defined by treating everyone the same, but by ensuring that the students and teachers of each school have the resources that they need. And you know, a good example of that is, you know, on the foundations, you know, one set of parents want a playground, and another set of parents might want something else. And I think that the important thing for the school board is to be active in the community, to not only ask the parents to come talk to them, but to roll up their sleeves and be involved in the community and the various organizations, and really actively understand what the parents want, and then facilitate the schools, the principals, the teachers in what they need in order to be able to facilitate the needs and desires of the parents in that school and in that community.
Thank you for your response. Ready?
I think so.
Okay. So you're going to know a little bit about this. A lot of parents in the community are talking a lot about the math testing programs. They're also talking about the Common Core development. Good, bad, and different. Most parents who have kids in the school district realize that this is something new, and that a lot of teachers were charged with creating these things and finding the best resources for the students, parents, and themselves. So there were also questions concerning our first set of test scores. Because the teachers developed the curriculum, they're dropping it, the kids are following it, the kids are going to be tested on what a lot of parents would consider a best guess at what we think Common Core is supposed to be given to our children. How will this be addressed once we actually do get our test scores? And when this year is done, how will we be looking back? What lessons will we have learned, and how will we apply them going forward?
So let me clarify the question a little bit. You're telling me that parents think the teachers are just guessing at what they should be teaching?
Well, what we were told is that we chose not to purchase the curriculum, correct?
There is no curriculum that matches the Common Core. There is nothing published.
So we are teaching
So we can
curriculum
choose to purchase
that we,
Mhm.
yes.
Right.
Because it
That
doesn't
was my
exist.
point, thank you.
So Okay, so we don't know what our children are going to be tested on.
We do.
Okay, how do we know what they're going to be tested on then?
It's
If there's no
stated in the Common
curriculum
Core
to give-
standards.
But if there's no curriculum to give to the children, how do we know what we're testing the children on?
So the teachers are developing lessons, and the RCD program that the district purchased that helps the teachers to design the curriculum to match the standards. So we went through practice tests last year that gave us kind of an idea. And it's just like the old standards, which were not Common Core, they were a little bit more specific. A teacher could look at the standards and say, okay, my students are going to be tested on these things here. I need to do what we call in the field of education backwards map. How am I going to get my kids here on such and such a date? So I start with the skills that they have. Now I need to figure out the timing of the lessons to get them to X. So they do know they don't know the test questions, obviously, but they should have an idea of the content because it's all stated in the Common Core standards from the state.
I guess I would ask them, if we did practice tests last year on the basic idea of the Common Core standards, are we going to be comparing this year's test results to like last year's?
No, no one got test scores last year. That was a decision by the state, not a decision by the school district.
So we just took tests, but nobody gave us scores?
Yeah, the whole state.
All right.
That was not a decision by Lammersville.
Okay, so, sorry, done? Okay. 2 minutes, yes. Okay, so, ready? Okay, I'm gonna hit you with another technology question, you ready? Okay, so some of our schools have been chosen for pilot programs, so only certain classes, grade levels, etc., got the Chromebook to use its full functioning. So the children that do have the Chromebook opposed to the children who don't have the Chromebook, how do you think they're going to be affected once they enter the high school program, which is all technology all the time?
Well, I do have, my 5th grader actually has a Chromebook that she uses. It's part of the class. She is not allowed to take it home. It has to stay in the classroom. Unlike my high school, she can take it home. That's a very good question. You know, are we giving an unfair advantage of the kids that in certain classes that are using the Chromebook so that when they get to the high school level, they're already adept on using the Chromebook? I think it's a pilot program right now, and they're just piloting it out to see if the K through 8 kids can understand and use it, and then I think it's going to be rolled out to the rest of the entire school district, because that would be very unfair if you just have select classrooms having it. So I think it should be rolled out to the entire K through 8 population, so that everybody has a fair advantage in the high school level.
All right, thank you. Ready? Let's talk about GATE. We all know kids excel in different things, right? They have different interests. Not everyone is standard. Chromebook doesn't work for everyone. What do you think the GATE program should encompass? Just in K through 8. What do you think would benefit these kids the most? And even if they're not excelling in math or science or English, do you think GATE should be offered to children that don't have the highest test score?
Can we expand that to enrichment programs,
Go
or do
ahead.
you want specifically on GATE?
It's your 2 minutes, sir. Do what you want.
I think that enrichment programs in general are very necessary, and I think that the people of our community have spoken to GATE, and they've made their desires for a robust enrichment program, which includes GATE, very clear. Personally, I do think that enrichment programs should focus on STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math, because our real goal is to matriculate our children and be able to get them into colleges and have them be successful in college and in the professional world beyond. But you can't only focus on STEM. The enrichment programs of music and band and all of those things are also required. So I think that we definitely have to have a more robust GATE program or enrichment program in general. It needs to be focused on science, technology, engineering, and math, but we also have to make sure that our kids are exposed to the softer enrichment programs as well.
Thank you. Okay, so I know all of you follow Facebook. If you don't comment, at least you're looking in, right? You want to see what parents are saying, what parents are thinking. Almost as effective as going out and asking them yourselves, right? I know from talking with Corey and I, you've all learned other things maybe that parents are also interested in, right? Things that you may not have clued in on because you don't have a kid that has that need, or you don't have a kid that has that interest, or you don't have a kid in the school at all anymore. So what I'd like you guys to talk about, if you can, and we'll go around and each get a turn. You're going to go first, okay? I know you're already in office and you've already had priorities, but if you get elected again, what will your priority be? What are you going to champion for our kids?
So the first thing that we're currently working on is implementing some GATE programs, as you were talking about. We've had conversations at board meetings about GATE programs. And we have to develop our GATE programs to meet the needs of our students. Like Colin said, every student is not the same. Every student is not academically focused. You also have the music and the arts. A lot of people forget about the T in GATE, and the T is talent. It's not all academic. There's a huge push on STEM, as you mentioned, statewide, because that's where the jobs are. Besides implementing some sort of GATE programs, whether they are during the school day or after school, or some places even do it before school, it's continuing to grow the high school. We have 2 more grades to add. That's a lot more curriculum to develop, and a lot of staffing. And we're currently going through a teacher shortage statewide, believe it or not. So with my experience in school district human resources is to help the district move as quickly as we can to find the best teachers, because districts are literally fighting over teachers. And being in the valley, right next to Livermore, our salaries are lower than Livermore. For the valley, our salaries are pretty comparable, but if teachers live here, they can go over the hill and get a lot more money. So we've got to really concentrate on our recruitment efforts, because our kids deserve the best teachers.
Any question?
Mm-hmm.
So, first of all, I'd like to say that, we have a great district. We have a California Distinguished School. We have state-of-the-art high school. We have the top scorers in the entire county. So, the current board and the past boards have done a lot to accomplish that. And I think that we have 3 outstanding candidates, whoever gets elected here, their job is going to be enormous. We're not going to settle for second best. Our community is not going to settle for second best. To maintain the high standards we've created is going to take a lot of work. It's going to take a lot of effort just to maintain what we have. Having said that, I don't think a board member should have any agenda items to bring to the board, because I think it's important that an effective board is 5 members who listen to all parties involved and make effective decisions. Not one board member who's trying to push his own personal agenda items or any other agenda items. So I really don't have an agenda.
Colin?
Lammersville School District is the highest performing school district in San Joaquin County. And I think we should, the school board and the district has mentioned that a lot, and they're very proud of that, and I think we should celebrate that for a moment. That is awesome, seriously. The common theme of my campaign has been focused on one item, which is enhanced communication between the school board, the district, and the community at large. And I think it's okay that is the focus, because when you read Facebook and you read mhvillages.com, most of the comments stem not from a dissatisfaction with the quality of the education. It is the highest performing school district in San Joaquin County. It stems more from a lack of understanding of what's going on and why it's going on. And I think that enhanced communication would go a long ways towards solving that. I think that a good example of that is, and it's a small example, but it's a good example, the facilities planning. The people didn't understand, they knew something was happening, didn't understand what it was, started talking on Facebook, they started a petition, and then a board member said, hey, this is not the appropriate forum for this type of discussion. We actually have a facilities committee that meets. He neglected to tell the people what the date and time of the next meeting was in his Facebook post, and then I had people calling me as a candidate saying, hey, okay, I'm really interested in this. I know you're on all these boards and you're interested in it. When's the next meeting? And I said, I don't know, let's look on the website. We looked on the website, it wasn't there. And we called the district, and the district told us that they can't post the date and time until 72 hours before the meeting. And it's like, that's not true. The agenda has to be posted at least 72 hours before the meeting, but you can post the date and time for meetings as early as you want. And so it's things like that, updating the website with new meetings and things like that that would inform the public and reduce a huge amount of the frustration that the community has right now.
Okay. So next question is going to be for all of you as well. We'll start with the two. Are you ready? So parent engagement seems to be a problem around here. We do have really high-scoring children. We have really educated parents. We have parents who care a lot about their children's education, who engage, who walk on campus every day. Yet they don't talk to the board. They don't talk to administration. They don't talk to CSD, or sorry, LUSD, wrong board. They don't make themselves known. And so sometimes Facebook is the only place where you will hear what they're upset about, and sometimes it's to a boiling point. So as you had mentioned, communication. What do you think that you can do if you are elected to the board to bring these parents in, to encourage participation, to make it a safer environment for parents to speak out before it gets out of control?
Well, a couple of things. If you ask a parent to say a controversial issue at a board meeting, it's going to be a little intimidating to them. You know, if they're frustrated about something, you know, they don't want to go to a meeting and have a discussion with 5 board members and the superintendent and the assistant superintendent. It's quite an intimidating thing. So I think the answer to that is to reach out to these members and, you know, have a discussion in a non-intimidating fashion. And like Colin was saying, you know, they may not be aware of all the resources that are out there. And if you make them aware of the resources, I think it might be easier to appease their frustrations. The second thing I would say is, you know, we can have all these wonderful websites and you know, all these resources online, but a lot of times parents aren't aware of it. They don't have time to look at the website. I think effective communication would be sending things home with the children, because that they have to read. And you know, if there's a meeting for, you know, an open house to talk about certain topics, send a flyer home to children. They're going to read that. They're not going. They may not look at the website, and they may not know the meeting dates, or they may not have time to attend the meeting dates. We're pretty much a commuter town, so a lot of people don't even get home till, you know, 7:38, and then want to go to sleep or have dinner and go to sleep and get up at 5:30 to go to work the next morning. So I think effective communication is the key, and you have to find out what works for our family members in our community.
Thank you. Yes.
So if I recall the question correctly, it was on getting the parents to be involved and actively
Engagement.
communicate,
Yes.
engaged.
How do we engage our
Engage.
parents? How did you get engaged? Why?
That's a great question. I've discovered that parents of the community are very open with me because I serve on so many boards, and in the course of the campaign, the candidates have said, hey, come to me with problems, come to me with issues and all that, and I realized the members of the community are already actively communicating with me, and I think that the biggest recommendation that I can give to any of the 5 board members is, you know what, if you roll up your sleeves and you're actively involved in our children's education, the parents are naturally going to gravitate towards you, they're naturally going to want to talk to you, and they're naturally going to be telling you what it is that they feel that their children needs and all of that, because that's what they've been doing with me. So I think that the best thing that the school board can do is, you know, roll up their sleeves and be actively involved in all of those. And I get that, you know, you can't be on the school board and on this board and on that board and on the other board, but just being out there, going, attending the events and all of that kind of stuff, instead of being I'm a school board member, come talk to me, just, I'm a member of the community. I'm your equal, right? It's, when I'm in a board meeting, I have to make decisions and some of them are pretty tough. But today, I'm just a community member, rolling up my sleeves right beside you.
Okay, so, and I have to agree with Dr. Khanna that it can be very intimidating for parents to go to a board meeting and stand up at the podium, because we now film it, so we used to let them speak from their seats, now they have to go to the podium, and there's this microphone in their face, and you have 5 people in authority positions staring at you. It is intimidating. I do board presentations at my job, that's intimidating. But I think going onto Facebook and explaining, and I have not done this yet, your question is a good one and it made me think of doing this, explaining why they're not hearing from me on those Facebook threads. That as a current board member, I need to be careful because people can interpret my answers as being the thought of the collective board. And I am not the collective board, I am one person. So please share with me and then I will forward it as appropriate. But it might be a good idea for me to go on some of those Facebook threads and say, I just want you to know I'm reading this, I'm hearing you, I'm not going to comment. So thank you for asking the question and giving me that idea. The other thing to do is to reach out. We've all visited foundations and PTAs, but to go back to them after the election and say, you know, you don't have to worry about reprisals against your students. We'll come to these meetings, we can forward you to other parents who we have, I shouldn't say we, I have honored their confidentiality when they came to me, because a parent, was actually a grandparent, didn't want anything to go back to his granddaughter of concerns that he had in a specific classroom. So reaching out through the foundations and the organizations that Colin is involved in and saying to the parents, I'm here, okay? Talk to me, I'll follow up, but I'm not gonna comment on Facebook. That's not the appropriate venue, but I am reading it.
Okay. So we're going to go in reverse order this time. Ready?
Yep.
Okay. So as a seated member of the board, I know that you speak a lot about the fact that the board votes and that typically it is a unanimous vote.
Yes.
And that you believe that that shows unity among the board. So as parents, we don't always agree. Right, Corey? We have differences of opinion. Right? Happens. Sorry about that.
I read Facebook.
You do. True. And so I know for the 2 of us, we don't mind disagreeing. Right?
I don't like when anyone disagrees with me.
So a lot of parents in the community don't necessarily agree that a unanimous vote on everything is actually representative of the board members or even of the parents' best interest, those who have elected you. So I'd like you each to address this, your views on unanimous voting. Why you think it's important, why you think it's good, bad, indifferent, how you intend to vote if you get elected.
So it is good, it's bad, and it's indifferent.
Up to you.
Okay. I have been a dissenting vote more than once. I will try to listen to other board members' opinions, and if I think I agree with their opinions, but it was something that I hadn't thought of, I will change my vote, but I will stick to my base of knowledge in education and vote that way. A lot of issues, not issues, but more like, I'll use the example of job descriptions because that's one thing that I have had changed several times before it came to the board. So my input is already on that document sometimes that comes to the board. Board policies, you hear for the first time, it comes, we're not voting on it, it's for input. So we discuss it and then staff takes it back and includes all of our input, comes back, and then we vote. And that's an easy example of a 5-0 vote because they've already heard us. I don't think we should always have a 5-0 vote. I'm not going to vote yes on something that I believe is wrong just to get a 5-0 vote. So.
I believe that there are certain times when a 5-0 vote is absolutely necessary. I don't think that you should hire a superintendent with a 3-2 vote. You have to compromise as a board. You have to give that superintendent the mandate that he or she needs to say the board is behind me 100% so I can do my job. And there are times like that where a 5-0 vote is absolutely necessary. However, in general, I believe that a robust discussion of the pros and cons of the issue is not only good, it's ultimately beneficial. It's okay to have dissenting opinions. The Supreme Court has it, Congress clearly has it, a school board can have it. I think that the important thing is, and to be honest, it's a, as you mentioned, it's a common thread in the discussions that I've had as I've been campaigning, is that when you look at the minutes for a school board meeting and it's like 90% of the decisions are 5-0 with no discussion. The members of the community are like, is it really that unanimous? Because if it is, do we really need 5 members on the school board? If all the decisions are that easy and there's really no dissension, then we could elect anyone. It really doesn't matter. And I think everybody out there knows that it's a lot more difficult than that. So my personal opinion, to sum it up, is there are certain times when a unanimous vote is absolutely critical. The school board has to hash it out and come to a unanimous decision, and then everybody has to fall in line and say, I support the superintendent, or I support this. But then other times, it's okay to have a dissenting opinion, like whether or not you send 6th grade cheerleaders to camp. It's okay to dissent if that's really how you feel.
Thank you.
Okay, so I agree in the sense that at certain times there is a need to have a mandatory 5-0 vote. I would say this, that it's not always necessary. There are, we have a school board members with different backgrounds. We have an educator, we have a police officer, we have a lawyer, and we have a rancher right now. We have different backgrounds. We're not going to have the same priorities all the time. I think the important thing for the school board is to have discussions, to be respectful to each other board members, parents, and superintendents, teachers, and the community. Have respectful discussions, and we're not always going to agree, and I might be swayed over to your side, but you have to convince me. Likewise, I hope I can persuade you of my ideas, but if we don't agree, that's okay. You vote your way, I'll vote my way. I think that's what makes an effective board. You have to have different opinions. If everybody had the same opinion, everybody had, if there was 5 board members who were all doctors, you think we'll get anything accomplished? No. So,
And we wouldn't be able to read anything anyway.
good point.
So we keep talking about technology, obviously it's important. So we are taping the board meetings.
Yes.
So early on, when Ben came out and was doing his roadshow about the high school, sorry, Mr. Faubert, he was engaging people and saying, you can pose a question from anywhere. You can sit in the audience. You can be anonymous. Unanimous. I know I'm stuck on that question. You can be anonymous, right? And we don't even have to know that it's you posing the question. You can do it from home. So do we have the ability to do this with the school district now? Can people sit at home, send in questions, get those questions answered on the live feed?
Not yet. And our feed isn't live yet. We're working on it. It's recorded and posted later on. So no, we're not doing that yet.
Any inclination of when we will?
I don't know. I'd have to talk to
Okay.
the director of IT and ask.
Okay. So we're talking about parent engagement. As we said, people are commuting, right? So this would be a highly lucrative way to get parents involved, is to offer up the same technology we're giving your children as a means of communication for the board. And any ideas about how soon we can get this going? Would this be a priority for anyone?
where I work at Tracy, and the main office is in Stockton and Bethesda, so we always have interactive WebEx meetings through, and the questions can come, I mean, there's a moderator there, and he's on the computer, and everybody else is on the computers, and questions are popping up, and the moderator responds to them, and it could be live in person he responds, or we could just type the response and direct it to that one person that's asking the question. So there is technology available. Now, I'm not sure about how you know, in terms of confidentiality, like obviously you couldn't do it at a closed session, you couldn't do it at, you know, certain personnel discussion and stuff like that, but I think there is a role for that, and, you know, WebEx is a great, are you guys familiar with WebEx?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's a great tool.
So I have to ask a clarifying question, if I may. Were you talking about school board meetings?
No, he did his roadshow, he came out to the schools.
Oh, I thought you were
Okay,
talking about
No.
from her,
meetings.
from
Yeah.
Sharon's
Well, so what
answer.
I'm saying is, we saw that technology a long time ago.
Yeah.
We saw, and superintendent was there, school board members were there, and this technology was being employed in that specific situation, saying you can sit here and ask whatever questions you want about the high school. You can talk about curriculum, you can talk about building, you can talk about when did my kids get to play volleyball. And you can post the questions. And he would read them on the screen and then answer them as they fit in with what he was telling us.
During his
Yes,
meeting?
yes, during the high school meetings, when the community was invited out to talk about it, and this was 2 years ago?
Last year.
Yeah. Either way, this is technology that Ben brought as a means of getting parents involved and getting the word out and getting people excited and engaged in planning a high school.
Okay, so now I can actually answer that question now?
Answer away.
Okay, and I'm sorry, I totally misunderstood the question at first. As far as school board meetings, since the public comment period is limited and it's not for questions, it's for public comment, I think it's less relevant, so I'm glad we've clarified that. The technology absolutely exists, and it's just a matter of the person that's hosting that particular meeting. Like Ben is obviously very dedicated to technology, very dedicated to a web presence and remote locations and being able to do that. And I think that, you know, lack of understanding frequently creates nervousness and tension. And I, you know, as a school board member, you know, I would definitely be in favor of that, because I know what it's like to be in San Francisco and go, oh crud, I have a blank meeting that I need to be at tonight, and I've got to drive like a maniac to get home, and I really can't do that. Whereas just being able to do WebEx or GoToMeeting or something like that would be incredible. And I think it's more, for our district, it's more a matter of finding the leaders, if you will, and that kind of a thing like Ben, and pairing them up with the others that maybe are more intimidated, and showing them, you know what, it's not rocket science, and it's not really that difficult. All you have to do is this. And I would definitely be pushing for that kind of mentorship and cooperation to, you know, expand the web presence.
Yes. Everyone would get their 3 minutes, right?
Right, but board members wouldn't be responding to that because they can only respond to things that are on the agenda.
Well, and a follow-up, to be fair, some things board members weren't aware of until parents stood up and got their 3 minutes. So we have stopped some,
Absolutely.
we've stopped some things in their tracks because additional discussion is required.
But I mean, Ben or any of the principals, for example, if this technology were in place, could respond to any of these questions.
That's right.
Like immediately.
So was your original question about how this could work at the schools
No, my question is, why aren't we doing it with the school district?
for
Or
board
the
meetings?
For the board meetings?
Oh, Brian.
Well, because Brad asked.
Yeah.
Yeah, they can't ask because
They
they
can't.
can't
It's something
respond.
interesting
No,
to
they don't
look
need to
into.
respond.
Oh,
and
just
that's
to
what I'm
hear
saying.
them. I
Yes.
don't see a problem with that.
Ben didn't respond to every question at all.
Yeah.
No,
Oh,
but some of the things he was
Stick it
already
during the
addressing.
comment board.
Yeah.
Right.
You
The
can see
public
what
comment period.
people,
That makes sense.
Yeah.
trending.
Yeah.
Let's see what's trending with our parents during our meeting, right?
Or even a way,
That's a-
some kind of website where they could go and they could type in their question and it would pop up on a screen and we could just read the question or the comment or whatever.
Or while one person's presenting, everyone else can go, ooh, wow, what did he say?
Mhm.
Oh, he actually works for that company. Hang on, let's talk with him before we go ahead and make this decision. Could be beneficial, right? Okay, so we're coming back to you on this. You ready? As a doctor, you work at Kaiser, right?
Yes.
Pediatrician, we know this. So, some of us constantly get these patient satisfaction surveys in the mail, right? Every time you go to the doctor, you get one. They want to know how the nurse did, how the doctor did, how triage was. Was the ambulance driver polite? So we don't really get those surveys about our schools. We don't get them about our board members. We don't get them about the superintendent. The only time parents typically have a voice is if they come to the school board meeting, and they may already be upset at that point. They may be misguided, their anger may be misdirected, or they go down to a school and have that discussion in person with an admin. What can we do to get more feedback from the parents, not via Facebook? Is there some kind of a satisfaction survey we can do? If any of you do get elected, is this something you're interested in, is finding out, are parents still happy with you after you're in your seat?
So it's very interesting you brought up that topic because there was a book written out there. It's called "If Disney Ran Your Hospital," and it's about this hospital administrator who quit his job and went to Disney for a while. Anyways, the funny story in that thing was in Orlando, where Disney World is, it's survey crazy. I mean, the author of this book actually got a ticket from a police officer. And the next day in the mail, they got a survey saying, was the officer courteous? Was the officer, did he ask for your license? And this is a true story. Anyways, my concern about this sending out survey, and I'm all for feedback, because, you know, we might think, as a board, we might think we're doing a great job, and then if we hear from this teacher, I mean, from the community members, that they're not as happy as we think they are. We need to change. As far as sending surveys, my only concern about sending surveys is how often would you send them out? I mean, you don't want to be surveyed out. I mean, I go to Macy's, I go to, you know, Burger King, and I get a survey for everything. On the receipt, there's a survey. Please fill out this 5-minute survey. And if you have, God forbid you give them your email address, and we went to Chase Bank yesterday. How was the customer service? I went to the ATM. You know, you know, it's just that's the only thing I would do about too many surveys. But yes, I think there should be whether it's a website we can type in stuff to give feedback, whether it's actually sending a paper survey home with your student. You know, we want to get some feedback on Ben, or we want to get some feedback on Dr. Nichols. I think it's a good idea.
In this case, I'm going to sound an awful lot like a tool. We definitely have to go to the next level in our district in terms of soliciting feedback from the members of the community, because I think what happens is people, and I know this from campaigning over the last several months, people, they don't know what's going on. They don't know what to do with their feedback, right? Right now, they don't know. And that creates frustration. Granted, everybody's excited about our district and the education that our children receive. And I don't think anybody is saying, oh, it's a terrible education. That's not the frustration. It's simply a lack of understanding of the keys to the city, if you will, in terms of how do I get my voice heard? How do I suggest change? How do I follow up to see what has happened based on my suggestion? And I have to be honest here and say I don't know that surveys are the answer, but I do know that, you know, communication and feedback needs to be a significant priority for the district and the school board in particular.
So school climate surveys are not uncommon. Sorry for the double negative. They're usually done when a parent organization or even a student organization, they're expressing that there's low morale. That's when I've seen them done in the past. Not to say that they can't be done at any time. We do some other surveys. There's some surveys that are required by the state, like the California Healthy Kids, and it goes more into than just health issues. There's a parent survey that can be done with that, and we'll give the district back some information. I've never heard of a satisfaction survey on the board, because that's usually done on election day. So there are surveys that exist, and if that's a need in the district, that's definitely something that we can do. I don't think that we've done one since I've been on the board. I don't remember hearing one, but it's something that, especially for the high school, that we should probably do at the end of year one. and that will help us drive future years.
And I would just say this, as an incumbent, wouldn't you rather know what's coming at you? And if people are unhappy, wouldn't you rather be able to campaign on those issues and say, this is what's going on, we understand it now, and this is how I'd like to help change it?
I would definitely prefer to get the information in a survey than on Facebook.
Yes, even if some of us fill it out
Yes.
twice. So we had a question posed, and this is regarding children in the community that have special needs. So I know that this is relevant to special education. A lot of people don't realize that that also does include our language learners. So it's not just children with delays, but they have other socioeconomic things that we have to consider. So what would each of you do to ensure that our special needs students, regarding language, special ed, everything, have the appropriate resources to meet their individual goals? And I believe most of us who understand this question know that we do have special programs set up to address those goals, and that is an annual offering. We bring them back, we talk with them, reevaluate how well they're doing. This may also relate to the program that is, I believe, set up at Wickland. Is that correct, Sharon?
Well, we have special education all over the district.
Okay. And so are we moving that to one central location?
There's many different forms of special education. There's self-contained classes, and that's what you're talking about at
Special
Wickland.
ed classes?
But we also have what's called a resource program, and that's where students get supplementary services based on their individualized education program, commonly referred to as an IEP. That can be where somebody pushes into the classroom to give the student support, or they're pulled out for small group support. So there is special education everywhere in the district, because special ed also includes speech and language services, as well as occupational therapy. So it goes on at every school. Special services, English language learners, while they are specialized services, it's not under the umbrella of special education, because that's different funding. We are currently receiving funding for our English language learners, for English language development. That's a huge push under the new LCFF, the funding sources, that the way the district gets their money. So you're talking about two different programs, so I'm not sure what exactly the question was.
Apparently people want to know how we're going to make sure that these children have appropriate resources to meet their goals, regardless of what program they're in.
Well,
Are they
I have to be
appropriate
honest, I don't know how to answer that. We have to, it's the law.
Do you
So
feel
if
that there are
they're not-
appropriate resources available to meet their individual
Yes,
goals?
I do.
And is that just because it's a law, or is that because we strive to be the best in education in the
Well,
county?
of course, we strive to be the best we are, the highest scoring district in all San Joaquin
So
County.
how are we exceeding,
How many times can we say that?
exceeding the requirements? How
We
are
are
we
not-
being the best?
We're not missing the growth goals for our special education community. So we're meeting the needs, they're growing at the appropriate rate, based on test scores from 2 years ago. We don't have standardized tests right now. We will.
We do not. We have MAP
Yeah,
and APP, sorry.
Okay, well, since I am not an education professional and I am not currently on the board, I would really hope that Sharon would address that question with a lot more information than I could, and she did. What would I do as a school board member? I think the one thing that I've learned in being a CFO for as many years as I've been is know and be comfortable with what you don't know. And I really respect the teachers in our school district, and since I'm not an educational professional, I'm going to listen really closely to what the teachers have to say about the resources that they need. And at the district level, you might tend to push resources at a particular teacher or a program, and maybe the teachers are saying those are not the reasons. Yeah, you're sending us resources. Those aren't the resources that we need. Can we have this instead? And I think that what I would do is listen to what I refer to as the boots on the ground, the teachers in the classroom that are charged with these special needs children, and make sure that the resources that the district is sending is the resources that they're saying that they need.
I deal with special needs children all the time as a pediatrician, and it can be quite challenging to meet all the needs of a district for special education. I think it's important, like Colin said, and like Sharon said, there are different programs out there, so we have to make sure that what is needed for our particular district and our particular children in our district is available. And the resources, and that I think is the board's job, to make sure the resources are there and that each special needs child has unique needs. And that, I think, like Colin was saying, is has to come from the teacher saying that this child needs this. If it's in his IEP and he's not getting it, his needs addressed, then I think that's a district response. That's a district error. And I think Colin summed it up really nicely. We have to find out what they need and make sure the resources are available. If not, we need to provide those resources.
Okay, so last question for our panel today. You guys ready? I'm sure you're all watching the news. Oh, I'm sorry, last one. So as most of us know, it's hard being a child, right? Some kids get bullied, some mature at a slower rate than everyone else. These are things we try to address. We have a lot of programs going on about how to recognize when children are in need and when they have problems. Something we don't really address around here with regards to our school is the safety of our kids. So now we talk about crosswalks and getting them safely to and from school. So there was a recent incident where that boy took a gun to school, right, and acted out his unhappiness. So looking at our schools and how open they are, and they are physically open, gates are open, they're open campuses, we don't want the kids to leave, but anyone can kind of come and go. What do we think we can do to make sure that when our kids leave our house and head to school, they're safe? Any ideas out there? What have we not thought of? How do we help bolster some confidence in our parents sending their children out?
Any one of us? Or-
Anyone?
Okay. I've spent a lot of time on campuses lately, and I have to say that me personally, I walked onto a campus and I didn't stop by the office, and I did it basically to see what would happen. And I can tell you that I had like 3 different faculty. I'm not sure if they were classified or certified, but 3 different employees of the district stopped me and asked me, what if they could help me, like within, not within minutes, within seconds. So I think the first thing that we can do is reassure the parents that the teachers and classified staff are vigilant. They truly are vigilant. In terms of solving a situation like where a child in the district brings a gun to school, well, we're not going to stop that child from coming to school. So the only thing that I could see doing is metal detectors and manning the metal detectors, and we would have to discuss that as a district. In terms of people that are not like an adult like me bringing a gun onto campus, I think that I feel a lot better knowing that when I walk onto a campus, I get stopped and asked what I'm doing really quick.
You made my evening by telling that story. Thank you. And I think we need to continue to train our staff and remind them that they're doing a great job with this and they have to continue. Because most people know Colin, and if he's getting stopped, we know the person that the staff does not know that they're getting stopped also. That's an expectation that I've always had as an education professional. We have a responsibility to educate our students as to how to reach out for help. That's the only way, that's our best tool, is to reach the children through mental health services that can be available now that we have a high school that's growing up to 12th grade next year. And just so they have it in the back of their minds. I've seen children go to the school psychologist, go to the counselor when they were feeling that they were in a meltdown. And as long as we keep that in the forefront of the students' minds, hopefully when they're in that meltdown, they'll think of that, oh yeah, that nice Miss So-and-so in the counseling office, maybe I should go talk to her tomorrow, rather than doing something drastic like the student in Washington did.
I agree with Colin. When I go to school, a few years ago, I went to school and I was off during the day, so I went there. And we had to pick up my daughter and my wife. I was with my wife, and I just kind of walked towards the school. I didn't go to the office. She goes, "Where are you going? You got to go get a sticker for your office." So I think parents realize that too. That if you're visiting for your child, you need to go to the office. And one time I went another time, and I would stop pretty quickly. Go, "Can you go to the office and get it?" And they knew who I was. I was on the board at the time, and they knew who I was. Dr. Connor, can you just go to the office and get a tag? So I mean, I think we are very vigilant, and I think, and I agree with what Colin was saying. You can't stop a child from bringing a gun or a knife to school. And I think Sharon was spot on in the sense that we can't stop it, but we can provide services if people are feeling bad or down. We have the services, and they know that the services are available. I think parents should know those services are available too. And in the state of California, a child has confidential, so he can see the psychologist without his parent knowing that. It has to be confidential services, because if the problem's at home, you don't want to discuss, you don't want the psychologist to discuss it with mom there. So.
Okay, so that was the last question that we had for you. I want to thank you all for coming. Thank you all for your candid responses. We did not give them the questions ahead of time. That was purposeful. So we wanted to get some honest responses, some shocked faces. We want to get you engaged here so people know that you guys are thinking. Okay? Very important. Thank you for engaging today, Dr. O'Toole, Colin, and Sharon.
Thank you. And thank you to Shay for hosting us in the building.
Yes, thank you.
And thank you for all that you guys did putting this on.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Okay.